Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Tonight we have special guest stars that are in the middle of the marijuana debate. They're going to be telling us all about their movement, what they're all about. The first person we're going to be talking to is Dr. Conrad. So let's get into it. So, who are you guys? How did you start? What do you guys stand for?
Yeah, so our group is called MOMS. It's an acronym for Mainstreamers of Marijuana. My advocacy for the medical cannabis was built over time in more than one particular instance. I'm heavily involved in clinical research, and this is where I first took notice. Once you take a look at the research available, it seemed reasonable to me that the cannabis system could be viewed as the same as other biochemical models, well known to human psychology. After that, I started to see and hear what I like to call feel-good stories. Children with genetic disorders whose seizures were cut by 75% with medical cannabis. Chronic pain patients who were able to stop their opiate pain medications and rely on cannabis, etc. Stories such as these caught my attention, and from here I did more research on my own, which is when I also started to better understand the socio-political challenges of medical cannabis. I actually believe this is a unique time in the history of our country with respect to incorporating medical cannabis into our healthcare system. I find this tremendously exciting, and I cherish the opportunity for myself and our organization to play a significant role. An important aspect of our organization is that we are not striving to legalize marijuana as a recreational drug. We would like to work with organizations already in place who have opposing goals to find a middle ground for patients who have medical needs for the substance.
Thank you, Dr. Conrad. So, in your professional opinion, what are the reasons for medical marijuana being legalized in all 50 states?
Yeah, so we are aware for a fact that the body has an endogenous endocannabinoid system. We are aware that this system involves receptors to which ligands can bind and elicit a psychological effect. This, in essence, is very similar to many of the other systems and processes that the human body that we already know that the human body can modulate to our benefit. Although we might not have all the answers yet, we do know that our bodies are intrinsically designed to respond to those molecules. Now it is just a matter of us figuring out exactly how this intrinsic system works and how we can use it to effectively treat certain diseases, processes, and entities. As time moves on, our understanding and knowledge will only increase. This ensures that medical marijuana will play a critical role in the long-term viability and expansion of the legal cannabis industry. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that marijuana is not medical at all. Marijuana has a stigma in our country that has manifested into an accepted reality over time. The stigma is primarily rooted in the stoner mentality, the stereotype. However, cannabis has been used medically in some form or another for over thousands of years. The fact that it is more associated with recreational drugs than it is with medical properties. It is a misconception that only education can expose.
Thank you, Doctor. That was very informative. Moms have actually provided us with a testimonial video today of someone whose life is directly impacted by this marijuana debate. So we're going to show that to you guys right now.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Smith, and I just wanted to share my story with y'all because it is something that's so close to my heart and just a movement that I'm really passionate about. I should probably start at the beginning. My husband and I met when I was 20 at the University of Georgia. We got married 2 short years later, right after graduation. We had big plans to travel the world, and we did just that before we got a big surprise in 2004 when we got pregnant with our first son. He changed our world, but just 2 years later, we had an even bigger surprise when we learned that we were pregnant with twins. Our sweet Blake and Bailey were born on October 18th, 2006. They were born at full term, which is a miracle in itself with 2 big babies. Bailey weighed 8 pounds, 0 ounces right on the dot. She was so healthy and happy. When the twins were 3 months old, I had given Bailey a bath and I was putting on her diaper. She was laying on the changing table, and I just remember her eyes starting to flicker really fast. Her first seizure lasted about 30 minutes. We, of course, rushed to the hospital. A first seizure is definitely not a typical first that parents look forward to. The doctor did close to what seemed like 1 million tests. They said it wasn't epilepsy, just one random seizure. But then a week later, she had another one. And this time it was even longer. Again, more tests. The doctors had no idea. All of her scans and blood tests were normal, and they thought it would be something she would just grow out of, but she never did. Finally, what seemed like years later, we learned that Bailey had the worst case scenario. It's called Dravet syndrome. It's a rare form of epilepsy that can't be controlled with medicine. And as weird as it is to say, I was happy with the diagnosis. I had spent so long wondering what was wrong with my baby, so to finally have an answer was oddly comforting. It wasn't until she was 2 years old that she really started to decline, at least to where we could tell. We tried everything. She was on 7 different drugs at one point in time, and we even did an experimental anti-seizure drug from France. One doctor suggested a ketogenic diet, which isn't exactly the safest thing for a 2-year-old who's still developing physically. Eventually, we made the crazy and what seemed like the only decision to make the move across the country to Colorado. We knew that they had a medical marijuana registry program, and my husband at this point had read thousands of articles about how it could maybe help. By this time, Bailey couldn't walk, talk, or eat. Her heart had stopped numerous times, and every time we thought it was the end. We finally found 2 doctors that would sign off on a medical marijuana card for Bailey. To say that this was tough would be the understatement of the century. I don't know if it's because of her age or just because of the newness of the drug for like public medical use, but it was a long process. Eventually, there were 2 doctors who either pitied us enough or were just as desperate as we were to find a solution. Bailey was basically a guinea pig for the whole thing. The doctors managed the oil really closely, and after 1 hour, Bailey hadn't had a single seizure. And I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to get my hopes up, but it was honestly a huge, huge feat for her. And then a week went by, and she still hadn't had a seizure. At this point, she normally would have had 10s, 20s, 100 seizures. 6 months later, I heard Bailey laugh for the first time in a really, really long time. Now I can't even begin to think what we would have done without medical marijuana. I just want people to know how much our lives were changed because of this. I thank God every day that we had the means to pick up and move to Colorado to do this experiment. But I know that that's not the case for everyone. Our lives were changed, and I know that there are a lot of other people out there that are waiting for the same opportunity that we were given. So if this story touches just one other kid, one other policymaker, one other family, then to me, it was worth it. My family and Bailey, we appreciate your work more than you can know, and just thanks for having me.
Next, we have 2 group members from Moms joining us. How do you propose balancing out the risks between recreational use and medical use of marijuana?
Well, we're here today to talk about medical marijuana, not recreational use drugs. I do understand your concern, though. First, I just want to say that none of us here today would really say that we're advocating for weed for all or anything like that. We just want to make sure that the public has all the information they need to make an informed decision for themselves. Personally, we want marijuana to be used as a medical treatment for diseases that cause patients unbearable pain. Pain that could easily be relieved by the prescription of a drug that has been shown in dozens of studies to have helped these patients cope with their symptoms. Glaucoma, epilepsy, Alzheimer's, and many more diseases could easily be treated with marijuana. We're not saying that we want everyone on the streets to be able to abuse the substance without any kind of reprimand. That would be really reckless of us. We are well aware of the health risks that are involved with the abuse of marijuana, and of course we want to protect the public from those risks. The thing is that there are already countless medications that have the same health risks if abused. Anything is harmful when it's abused, but those same things can be life-saving if used properly. This is exactly why we want legalization of medical marijuana that is only accessible to those with a doctor's prescriptions, Prescriptions will give patients informed instructions on how to properly use the drug, and when those instructions are followed, the benefits far outweigh the costs. In terms of balancing out the risks of recreational marijuana, with the illegal possession of marijuana, law enforcement has already been on top of that for years now. There are a lot of people in prison right now for possession charges of marijuana. And with the legalization of medical marijuana, that's not going to change. There are federal and state laws that prohibit the prescription sharing, so I want to assure those concerned that if someone is caught with marijuana that's not prescribed to them, they are going to be facing justice. They will be penalized.
What exactly are you proposing then?
So we're not actually proposing anything. We're not advocating for policies or for laws or protests. We simply just want to inform society about the benefits of medical marijuana so that they can make their own informed decision. We're not suggesting free reign of the drug, but rather, like any other prescription drug, prescribed usage in certain contexts. I think there's a negative connotation surrounding the word marijuana. People automatically lump it into the bad drug category instead of the prescription drug category. So our goal in this campaign is to offer another side to the story. Marijuana is just like any other substance. It's only bad when it's misused, but it has the potential to do so much good.